Namaskaram, listeners. Nishta Jeeva here. Welcome again to my channel. I hope you lot, Indian as well as non-Indian listeners, are liking the contents of our. Tonight, I bring a story that I take a lot of pride in because this one was written by yours truly, and also because it's a slightly bigger story and goes without saying its Hindi version was narrated on my podcast show Karan Ki Khaufna Kahaniyan this past week. To talk about tonight's story, it's about what we call the evil eye. And for the benefit of our non-Indian listeners, the evil eye here is called DISHTI because it happens in a Telugu family. And if it's not obvious, a bomma is a toy or a figurine, a relic. If you like frightening stories like The Conjuring or Insidious where an entity is in pursuit of you and your loved ones, I think you'll enjoy the story. Listeners must note that since the protagonist here is a woman, you have to endure my voice as voiced for a woman. So, without further ado, I bring to you DISHTI BOMMA. DISHTI BOMMA by Nishta Jeeva. May 6th, 2019. I'm starting to write this journal/blog to make sense of bizarre and suspiciously supernatural set of occurrences, to make sense of it all from a rational perspective. Since I need to elaborate on the background on the story, this first entry may be a bit long, but hopefully it would help me connect it all in the end. I initially started writing to be put out on a Freethinkers forum on Facebook, but after having unsatisfactory explanations, I felt this would be an avenue where I could get some better answers. But as you will learn, the finality of the story still feels like a nightmare that has come to life. I can only wish it was only a nightmare. The starting, and now as it seems, the ending point of the story is not me, but my sister, Pranati. My little sister Pranati is a compulsive liar. There doesn't go a day where she doesn't lie. I don't know where she got it from. It's not like we live in an abnormal family either. I'm a 27-year-old girl working in IT here in Hyderabad and working full time to stave off my parents' demands for getting married year after year. My father runs an agarbatti incense stick business and is hardly ever at home since his work takes him to Mysore often. And my mother works as a teacher. Both his daughters were raised with equal love and care, but then I don't think she's a bad or a malicious kid. She's in second grade in DAV. She studies well, except for whenever she's not lying about her mark sheets or report card. And that is every time. The mistake, I think, was that we didn't think much of it. She's just a little girl. Folks at home used to think. Not me, of course. That father of mine, he has mainly spoiled her. Why does he pamper her like that? Chinnari, Chinnari, he calls her. Why is it not a big deal that your Chinnari lies about her school summer camp and I have to pick her up leaving my work? Why is it not a big deal that Chinnari says that her class teacher turned into a ghost, Dayyam as she calls it, and is scaring the students, which she illustrated in class too, by the way? I still remember that drawing. The teacher looked like Shabana Azmi from that Hindi movie Makdi. Gave me the creeps as well. Why is it not a big deal that Chinnari lies about whether she came in school in bus or in auto? Or that dogs on the streets can talk to her and they all helped her reach home? I tried to talk to her like a normal sister would, ask her what is happening in her life. She says nothing really happens. But where from do all these stories come from then? I should stop ranting about her wild imaginations and rather maybe understand them? Or else that thing would come again. What that thing is something I may know as the entries progress. Since I started writing this journal, only after the bizarre occurrences transpired, I will try to recreate 3 separate entries from memory. Yes, I'm going that extra mile so that if I'm no more, someone else may find this blog and hopefully piece together what is happening to me. April 6th, 2019. I had enough of this girl this day. It was the day of Ugadi, considered the Telugu New Year. I'm not one for festivities, but I don't mind them either. But the part I do complain about is the puja and other religious ceremonies that happen. My mother also loves to draw a muggu in front of the house, even on this day. Folks from other parts of India may call it rangoli. Mother finished the muggu and was doing preparations in the puja room. Father had some urgent work with seeing to a truck delivery and would come back just in time for Aarti. That is when the puja would be finished. Office did not provide me a holiday, but I took a leave anyway. I was asked to see to all the little decorations around the house. So, as you can imagine, utter chaos. Coming to Pranati. She first lied about where the stone to break the coconut with was, then about where the fruits that go as prasadam were. She ate 2 of the bananas that were meant for offering to the idols. I was already mad from the previous day because she lied that no report card was given at school. And what did she say when confronted? It was eaten up by the dogs on the way. I get a call. It's from work. When I'm on leave. Seriously? It's noisy inside, so I step out the front door. Not even a minute passes since the songs calling for Pritika start. I couldn't close the door since it needed to be open while the puja went on. I step further away. It's Prakash, my project manager, on the call. He needs me to verify some front end code. My mind has no room for work right now. I see Pranati stepping out in her usual waltzy manner. She's looking at me. Prakash says the client wants the work done today. She is about to speak to me. Amma wants you to come inside. Active will start soon, she said in her lispy self. I put Prakash on hold. Tell her I got a call from office. It'll take a while. She wants you to come now. What? Can't you see I'm on a call? I turn away and bargain deadlines with Prakash. Pranati waltzes away inside, this time stepping on the muggu while doing so. Not just the side, but the center, strewing about all the color patterns. Eh. Oh, sorry, I wasn't shouting at you, Prakash. A minute later, when the call ends, I turn around to the front of the house where my mother is staring at me, wrists on her hips, furious at me. What happened? I asked. What do you mean, what happened? I spent 3 hours this morning while you were having your beauty sleep drawing this pattern for the muggu, and you just step on it like that? No, it wasn't me. Puja is going on, but you can't afford to not be on your phone. Nice. Now, even your father is here, she remarks, looking into the distance. I turn back to see Nana, my father, being dropped off by a lorry, being dropped off by Yadaya, his main driver who transports bulk of his goods. What is the altercation right in the morning? Hurry, re, he remarks, looking down on the spoilt muggu. I worked 3 hours on this, followed a YouTube video to the last detail. How did this happen? My father asked. It wasn't me. Pranati? My father called her outside. She comes out without a care in the world. She's careful to not step on the muggu this time and hugs her father. Pranati, how did this happen? My mother is insistent. Akka, he was on phone. Pranati said. What? No. Arey, we all have work sometimes. These things happen. Did you take a picture of it on your phone once you finished it? Asked my father. Yes, said my mother. Then leave it. My mother didn't say anything further, but her look of contempt conveyed everything she wanted to say. Nana took Pranati inside, who didn't even peek a look in my direction. I was internally furious that I walk closer to the entrance. I see inside. Amma has gone to the puja room. Nana was picking up Pranati, who was playing with the leaves that were kept as decorations along the walls. My mind then went to a darker place. That wretched little demon. That conniving bitch. And she does it all in such a nonchalant manner. She knew I didn't do it. And she knows that she stepped on it. I can see color marks on her bare foot. Were my parents blind as well? Spoiled her enough to be her. Just drop her on her head and be done with it. Something big, blue, and what I thought were a bunch of sharp teeth fell right in front of me. Pritika! Everyone rushes outside. I see and observe the large object that would have landed on my head and have injured me severely if I had inched closer. On the floor, I got a good look at what that thing was. It's an object. This object is called by multiple names. Cheshme Nazar, Nazar Gurboni, Nazar Battu, Bedaru Bombay, DISHTI BOMMA, called differently in different languages. It adorns the front of our house. Here this object is a hard coconut shell painted with a Rakshasa's face, demon face. It is kept to ward off the evil eye and other evil spirits. I never noticed it on top of the entrance to my house, but there it was, with a shade of blue to show skin with eyes that are red and yellow. I used to think it was well colored, considering DISHTI BOMMAs look a lot more overdrawn usually. It was gifted to the family by my Pedanana, my mother's elder brother, on his Cambodia trip, shortly after which he died. He really liked Chinnari. Anyway, who would give that as a gift? You could have gifted me a new phone, Pedanana. Instead, you bring this to accidentally fall on my head? Well, almost. Needless to say, I find nothing good about that face now. Was it a coincidence? I pray that it is. Needless to say, Aarti did not happen that day. April 13th, 2019. Since that day, I have fallen particularly ill. I have taken leave from office. I say leave in quotes because I still have to work from home even if it is sick leave. One would think that taking rest from home would help my fever, but it has been progressively getting worse. I'm not stupid enough to connect this to the events of that day since I've had no time to go to the doctor as well. My company has not been doing well, so I have been feeling the crunch from the workload. I'm also seeing Pranati more often since I'm at home, and that really throws me off mood. Come to think of it, I have not spoken to her since. Why would I? But something peculiar happened tonight. Since I'm sick, I've been trying to sleep in a separate room. Currently my Amama's, my grandmother's room, since she died about a year ago and it has been since been unoccupied. God forbid Chinnari catch a fever from me, right? Good for me. I wouldn't be sleeping in the same room as her and listening to her made-up fantasies. The sickness, although, doesn't let me sleep well. Tonight, I was rolling around in bed, unsuccessful at sleep, when I started to hear noises from Pranati's room. To whatever imaginary friend she made up that day, she was speaking. But tonight, I think I heard a voice answer back in return. That alerted me. But I knew that Pranati is known to modulate her voice when role-playing, so I didn't think much of it. The little demon is just conversing with herself, I thought. So I walked up to her room. The door was closed. I could hear voices inside. Voices. Plural. I knew I was tired, but I definitely heard two voices simultaneously in there. And both voices seemed like Pranati's. Okay, so she's talking to herself, but it felt like her voices were coming from different points of the room at the same time. Totally weirded out, I slammed on her door. People are trying to sleep here, okay? You're free to ruin yours, but don't ruin mine. I said angrily, but not too loudly, of course. The voices now stopped. I get back to my room to resume my unsuccessful attempt at getting some sleep. I hear her room door creaking. What is she doing now? I get up and open my room door to see a cold-faced Pranati at the entrance of my room, staring at me.
Akka, there is a cat in the garden.
What are you even doing in the garden? Weren't you in your room just now?
Come, see.
She holds me by the hand and leads me to the staircase. Her face is expressionless. Oddly, the blabbermouth is just a girl of few words right now. The rooms below were not in total darkness because there is usually a dimmer light bulb controlled by a switch by the bottom of the stairs. I looked downstairs. The front door was open. Also, I must inform that Indian houses do not have porches, but a light is usually installed toward the outside, right above the front door. And that light bulb, tonight, was switched on. Did someone get in? On high alert, I descend down slowly.
Let's go, it's in the garden.
Pranati coldly exclaimed. Did you open the door? I asked as I descended about 4 steps.
The cat was knocking,
she said. My heart was now beating fast. Pranati, tell me who knocked? I hissed.
Cat knocked. I opened. It ran off into the garden.
Pranati, this is serious. Who knocked on the door? I had 2 more steps to get to ground floor.
Ale, you can hear the cat in the garden.
This time, she was suddenly right behind me. I yanked myself forward toward the front door. After adjusting myself, I looked out from behind the open door. A few blades of grass were visible in the lawn by the bulb. But beyond that, blackness. Pranati was holding my hand, looking outward. After a few seconds of listening to crickets chirping, I heard it. The purring of a cat. Pranati suddenly leaves my hand and rushes into the dark ahead. Pranati! I exclaim and rush forward. Suddenly, a blue head drops in front of me. I trick backward and fall. I saw 2 glowing eyes suspended in air, staring back at me. I was about to shriek any second. I think a second later, some blood streamed into my brain and my rationalist mind kicked in for me to see what was going on. It's the DISHTI BOMMA. This time, suspended in air and facing me just beyond the front door. My mind, only human, had been startled. The Rakshasa face was painted on with a certain kind of dye that reflects heavily when light falls on it. Here the one coming from the bulb situated above the front door. And it wasn't tied properly, so the rope gave way. My mind then adjusted to the fact that the door was still open. And Pranati was just standing outside it, staring at me. What happened to the cat now? I asked.
It went off,
she said. Liar.
Lamish, it ran away.
I pulled her inside. I live in a big gated complex with one security guard about half a kilometer away from the front gate. But that also meant that each individual house does not have its own security. We don't even have any immediate neighbors, so I need to be alert. After a glance outside, I quickly closed the door. I closed it over the hanging, glowing eyes. I switched off the front door light. I listened for a while for any other sounds. Then I hissed again at Pranati. Don't just venture off into the dark like that. After taking her upstairs, I keep pestering about who knocked on the door. She gave the usual reply. So you are lying about the knock on the door as well then?
No, Akka.
A loud voice comes from the other room. It's Amma.
Will you girls even sleep? What panchayat you folks are holding in the middle of the night?
Do this again, I will wake up Amma and tell her.
But I didn't do anything.
With a heavy sigh, I go back to my room. After a while, sleep did creep in, owing to my sheer exhaustion. The voices commenced in the other room, but I was too tired. To recall, the bomma was angled pretty perfectly to face me, was it not? April 27th, 2019. I've been trying to avoid looking or talking to Pranati, even at dinner times.
Hello, Akka.
She says over the dinner table, even though I try not to respond. Does she not get the message? Maybe she does this on purpose. My fever's gone and I have resumed going to work, but I'm still sleeping in my grandma's room. The voices I still hear at night from time to time. So it was a bit strange that whatever transpired tonight even did. My skeptic mind is hard at work trying to unpack whatever it is I saw. If I do it, it will be updated in the next journal entry. Work has been stressing me out, so I do come back home tired. The tiredness helps me to go to bed as soon as I hit it, voices or no. Tonight, I heard a gentle knock on my door. Don't know how many times it was knocked on since I slept. I finally awake, drowsy. I open it. Stone cold Pranati again. No. She had a little smirk.
Cat came downstairs.
What? Are you mad? Why did you bring it in?
Alia, I didn't. It's already there.
Stop lying. Tell me where you found it.
I just saw it in the living room. Mother didn't promise.
She said with a hand on her head. Instinctively, I take the hand off her head. Don't make promises like that. I scowl. Knowing full well she just sneaked a cat in, I walked to the edge of the staircase again and looked down. It was pitch black this time. The dim bulb that lights the bottom floor past bedtime had not been turned on this time. My eyes quickly try to locate the switch in the dark. The switch for this bulb is by the bottom of the staircase. Curiosity, they say, killed the cat. I walk slowly down the stairs in darkness, a part of me on edge. I look back at Pranati, who hasn't descended with me. Where's the cat? I don't see it.
It's a black cat. You can't see it in the dark.
Joker. I quip. She doesn't respond. It was awfully quiet, I noticed. I could hear myself breathing. Although only mine, no one else's. A note to the readers at this point. The logic of a drowsy mind does not make much sense, even to the person conjuring up the thoughts and the logic behind said thoughts. Halfway down the stairs, I see them, right before where the front door should be. Glowing eyes. I could feel them staring right at me. They were transfixed on my movement as I descended down slowly. So there is a cat after all, I say and turn back. Pranati isn't there anymore. Strange. I look back again. The eyes are still there. Now I could recognize these weren't cat eyes, It's a different glow. Wait, this was the same glow from few nights ago. My mind, after momentarily pondering, gave me an answer. Ah, it's the eyes of the DISHTI BOMMA from beyond the front door. I just blamed this erroneous observation on my drowsiness and completely descended the stairs. I was feeling the wall on the right side. I found the switch. I just had to turn it on. I proceeded to not turn it on, considering the fact that this Schrodinger's cat inside the house might get startled by a sudden light. Plus, my eyes were getting accustomed to the dark. My mind then brought up a question. Was I sure it was only a cat? Why was this light switched off? Amma never forgets to switch it on after dinner. Did somebody switch it off? Or did an intruder get inside the house that night and is still hiding somewhere? This jolted me up, and my drowsiness vanished. I look around. The DISHTI BOMMA's eyes were certainly apparent in the dark. It hit me then. The front door is closed. There is no light source for me to be able to see what I am seeing. The eyes are still on me, having totally deviated from their initial line of sight. What is even looking at me? My eyes were indeed getting accustomed to the dark, and things were getting more visible. And I could see a figure forming around the eyes. Then I heard breathing. A sudden fear urged me, and I did not turn on the light. I instead turned and bolted back upstairs into my parents' bedroom. I shouted to them that there was someone downstairs. My father makes a call to the night watchman, who runs to our house in about few minutes' time from the front gate. In the meantime, my father gets Pranati into the room. She trudged in as if woken up from sleep. What even is this girl? I did not speak a word. After he arrived, the watchman and my father together make a scan of the entire house. I didn't venture down at all. They found nothing. The watchman promised to make extra rounds around my house. My startled parents comfort me and lead me to the bathroom to wash my face. I finally go back to my room after not being able to fall asleep in my parents' bedroom. Pranati also does. I think stress coupled with an unhealthy sleep cycle can make a person see things. The voices from Pranati's room I still hear. Those are certainly there. May 5th. Tonight, I felt knocking on my door past bedtime. Little footsteps outside the door. I did not answer. The footsteps retreat, but only after a while. I was too sleepy to count the minutes. Apart from this, no unusual activity this past week. Nana's business hasn't been doing well. One of his truck drivers died after meeting with an accident on the highway. They might do a puja to remove Shani Dosham tomorrow, it seems. Why are they so superstitious, I wonder? At office, Prakash asked to discuss some work over biryani for lunch. I turned it down since I'm always exhausted to discuss work. But thinking back, maybe he was trying to ask me out? Not a bad phase for an IT office. Wonder what HR would say. May 6th. Continued. Since I've recounted all the relevant past dates, I should be able to record today's events. Something is really, really off. Amma and Nana conducted a puja today to resolve bad luck or the evil eye my father fears has beset the family. Some Satyanarayana Vratam, it seems. And since they're extra religious, I mean superstitious, even a homam was performed. For the folks outside the culture, a homam is a ceremony with a fire burning in the center. Mantras are uttered while aiding the fire to burn. The priest, Pujari, was also a weird one. He was enthusiastically stating how this particular puja was a one size fits all treatment for ill things that befall in life, also bestows long life and fortune, even provides moksha. Didn't know Hinduism even had that. It really is the same everywhere, isn't it? Anyway, you would think that the psychological placebo effect would do the trick of getting my parents' minds in order. But it was unusual that my parents' anxiety filled the day, rendering every facet of the puja to be in disarray. My mother took too long to wear the sari. The little decorations were not completely ready by the time the pujari arrived. And even my father, the meticulous planner, forgot to buy ghee for the homam. Nothing about the ceremony went according to plan that day. More chaos than it was on Ugadi. This time, I was the one getting all the paraphernalia: lime, coconut, flour, flowers, at the right time when everything else seems to be in the wrong place when the puja started. Pranidhi was calmly sitting in her father's lap, coddled as ever. Guess sitting and getting pampered did not require any preparation. The pujari said to my mother, there came a point when the wood to keep the fire running in the homam was needed. As usual, my mother started bickering about where she last left it. I bring it to drop it in the fire. My glance falls to Pranati. As the fire starts to grow, so does some smoke. She starts to cough. Then, a certain delight washes over me, seeing that. And mentioning this detail may be important now. At that moment, a portion of my mind wished she choked.
Kritika!
My father screamed, with his hand motioning in my direction. I look to my rear and see that my sari caught fire. I was paralyzed to think what to do next. I just started unwrapping it there, but the fire would have caught into my blouse the next second. Nana gets up and quickly pulls me into the garden. I start unwrapping the cloth round and round. He unloads the garden hose onto me with full force and extinguishes what was rampantly about to devour me in a second's time. I suffered no burns. And mysteriously, only the little end portion of the sari was burnt off. It had seemed like a big flame only a moment ago. Felt like it would have completely engulfed me. My eyes, during this quick ordeal, had fallen to the entrance of the house. And I saw those malicious eyes at me. It was the Rakshasa on the DISHTI BOMMA. Its eyes were on me. I was sure of it. No denying that. That thing is onto me. My parents tried to take me back inside, but I resisted. I was too shaken, not by the fire, but what I saw after that. I insisted I stay in the garden, facing away from the house, of course. The pujari said, convincing my parents to finish off what was started. I kept glancing into the house from time to time after that. Of course, not looking at the bomma. Surprisingly, the puja went smoothly after that. No issue. The pujari remarked, there is no dosha, there is no evil eye. Such a thing is psychologically explained, where Maliciousness from a person causes perception of harm in the other person, affirming the belief of the gaze being evil. But I couldn't help but notice one thing. What was a chaotic day went smooth after my incident. No, it was right after I went outside the house, as if my exit temporarily relieved the family. I was the trigger point. I was the dosha. Was I the evil eye? My mother took me in finally, wrapped me in her old langa oni. I can't sleep now. Writing this blog is the only thing keeping me going. I've lost a lot of weight. Prakash texted about biryani again for tomorrow. I can't. Just can't. Okay, I'm not letting some silly superstitious magic get a hold of me. I'm getting rid of that bomma tomorrow. Edit. I'm typing again into this entry after getting woken up by a laugh. I'm not sure whether it was from a nightmare or from Pranati's room. I'm not able to place the voice behind that laughter. If it's from a different room, my parents would have heard it, right? Maybe I'm just overthinking this. I shall try sleeping again now. May 7th. I've got some alone time to think this through. I think it is just stress and nerves. And somehow it has all been affecting how I interpret the reality around me. I can't believe I've been so silly and eager to link some dysfunctional effects in my family onto some painted on coconut shell. And we know what the source of these dysfunctional elements is. And yes, I'm getting rid of that bomma. Not because I believe in something supernatural, but because it takes away the positivity of my day when I look at it. And my previous obsession with it didn't help. Okay, it does give me the creeps at times. More than reason enough to get rid of it. I will be taking back control of my life now. Before leaving for work in the morning, I saw Yadaya getting onto his lorry after meeting with Nana. I told him that he could take the bomma with him and put it to the back of his truck. He agreed, considering he didn't have one of those hanging at the back of his lorry like most of the lorries do. I don't believe in that evil eye stuff, but I guessed right that he'd want something like that and even appreciate the gesture, which he did. I took the bomma off the hanging at the entrance and gave it to Yadaya. I'm certainly not going to miss those devious looking eyes. Sorry, Patnana. Office was usual. Something kept me going without needing coffee. Biryani with Prakash wasn't exactly work related after all. Not like I expected that anyway. You seem in a good mood today, he mentioned, somewhere in the conversation. I take it you were looking forward to this, he asked. Oh, don't flatter yourself. I couldn't help this mug. I guess things are getting better at home, I remarked. He smiled back. Huh, that's nice to hear. But any major problem? He inquired. Oh, no. Everything's fine. It's just my little sister can be a pain in the ass sometimes. Oh. How old is she? He asked. Second standard? Hey, that's not so bad. But that's what family is, Kada. They annoy, but you love them, right? He remarked. He really had a nice smile. I'm not so sure, I replied, turning my eyes away. Why did I have to make things awkward? Why am I so stupid? Prakash broke the silence. So the network engineer team at office is your real family after all. I'll give a good appraisal to you. I don't think HR knowing about this would please them. Well, how would HR know? And by the way, I might be promoted to senior manager and shifted to another department.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Congratulations. Not just yet, but soon.
He quipped. The rest of our date, if I could call it that, was the only other thing I could remember about my day. Because if things go well, I can manage to get out of that house. Why am I smiling as I type this? Things are turning round after all. Makes for a nice ending to these blog entries, no? May 8th. Why is this happening to me? How could it come back? How the hell could it come back? Pranati already went off to school at the time I gave it off, so why is the bomma back? As soon as I came back from office today, I saw it, just lying on the floor by the entrance, with a bit of the head broken and with some cracks, as if resilient. I get the usual kind of reply from Pranati as I call her outside. That was not atypical of her. The bomma followed her on the way back from school, she says.
But it scared off all the dogs in the way. Even Toffee.
She said. Toffee was the mutt she occasionally feeds at the bus stop she uses for school. Which leads me to certainly believe that it was Pranati who brought it back. But how? What is the alternative explanation? That some coconut shell came to life and followed my little sister home? No. I need to get a grip. Maybe the other year gave it to Pranati? Why would he do that? Maybe he didn't need it. But he was supposed to go to Mysore and not return anytime soon. Yadaya is one of father's trusted drivers. He always delivers to the processed sandalwood plant and brings it to father's go down. Why would he wait for Pranati to go to school to give it back? Wait. Why would I believe Pranati about the returning from school bit? Pranati probably just stole it before Yadaya left. Very possible. But she already left for school that day. All right. I was once told that writing my thoughts can help me relieve stress and anxiety. So maybe I should think more about the alternate explanation, which is that there is something supernatural going on, and it's not some trivial psychological fantasy. A part of me is honestly, truthfully scared that the Rakshasa in that bomma is haunting me, and that all these bizarre episodes are connected because of that reason. I must confess that I looked up this stuff online, and yes, I did find the usual trivia that these DISHTI BOMMAs or Nazar Battus are used to ward off evil spirits and prevent evil eye, yada yada. One astrologer in a video argues that putting pictures of Rakshasas also opens up your house to Rakshasic, demonic elements. Oh, why am I listening to the words of astrologers now? And why is this thing haunting me?
You didn't tie it up properly that day and did it in a hurry. Always in a hurry.
My mother said, admonishing my father about the now cracked bomma. They didn't notice I had given it away the previous day, but now they noticed the condition of that ominous thing lying at their front door. I didn't want to tell them. Did I just say ominous? I had half a mind to say, let's get rid of it. Before I could say anything, my mother burst out at my father.
Are please put it back. This is the last thing that Suri gave us. And this time, please tie it properly.
My father came back with a stool as my mother went inside. Patika, why are you just standing outside? You scared to come inside your own home or what? It's nothing, Nana, I said. Father climbed the stool. Hand that to me, please, he said, motioning to me. I was momentarily paralyzed. When I had come back home and I saw it, I didn't touch it. I couldn't. Now, I picked it up and gave it to father. It looked like it was decaying. Maybe the coconut shell was never dried properly. I think this was the first time in a while I'm getting a closer look at it. Who gives this thing as a present? You know this was a present given by Surya uncle, right? Yes, I'm aware, Nana. To whom, you know? To the family? No, to Pranati. Huh? My psyche blanked. I wondered who would give such a thing to a kid. Your mother's brother was quite the interesting character. It's not some toy that Pranati could play, so we just put it up here. I helped him get down the stool. I then asked him, trying to confirm a suspicion. Nana, how is business going? He sighed. Remember Yadaya? His lorry broke down in the middle, almost hitting another vehicle. Is he okay? Yeah. But half of the supplies fell off from the back of the bus. I'm just glad no one got hurt. Should probably tell him to stop drinking or something. Holding my father's hand, I begrudgingly and anxiously entered my own home. My father then updated me. By the way, your mother and I are going to Mysore tomorrow for 4 to 5 days. I need to set the business in order considering some of the other bizarre incidents that have been messing with the transportation of goods. Why is Amma going though? I asked, taken aback. I've hardly ever given your mother a proper tour of Mysore. Kept nagging me for decades. Never too late, I suppose. I clenched his hand harder. A sudden fear of complete abandonment washed over me. We're not scouting for some guy for you, don't worry. Although, we have some acquaintances over there to whom we could talk to. I hugged my father. I shed a tear or two. Why this now? I told, right, we just go to visit and come back. Chinnari should be the one getting emotional about this. You be a good elder sister and take care of her. Yes, Nana. I assured him. At night, I got a knock at the door again. It was Pranati. And she had tears in her eyes. I took her inside the room, but she resumed to sob silently. What happened today? She answered in more tears and hugged me. I don't want you to die. Now this is frightening me. Why would I die? It said it's going to kill you. I don't want you to die, Akka. My mind didn't even need to ask what it was. I already knew. But at the moment, my protective instinct overcame my fright, and I attended to my sister's tears. After some brief consoling, I let her sleep in my room. As she was dozing off, I couldn't help but ask, Pranati, why didn't you tell me about this bomma all these days? Huh? Akka, today, no? The bomma was following me, no? Yeah, I sighed. Not that tale again. Toffee was also following, but bomma didn't like. It attacked Toffee. I cried and told it to stop, she said, clasping tightly at the bedsheet and pulling it toward the side. I wiped her tears. The bomma is mad, Akka. Later, it told it will kill you. Bomma not good anymore, Akka. The dread was coming back to me. Pranati, if this is some sick joke, I'm not laughing. It is not funny. Is that thing really trying to kill me? You're telling the truth, right? I asked, shuddering and almost shedding a tear. She kept her hand over my head. I swear on you, Akka. Bomma was with me every day from when Soli Padnana gave to me, Akka. Every day seeing me. All this time, it didn't do anything. Only now, it attacked Toffee. And I don't want it to kill you. She hugged her on my arm. I started rubbing her back. It's been almost 6 years since Suri Padnana gifted the Bomma and died a few months later. And that thing has been all this time. The full gravity of it was something I was not ready to confront. I wanted to yell back and ask more, but I couldn't. I continued rubbing her back. Where is it now? Pranati glanced toward the door. I looked as well. I thought I saw a shadow from under the floor. It walked away. In reflex, I drew my legs towards me, holding Pranati tight.
I told Kati to it. I said not to come to me. It won't.
Took me almost 30 minutes to get my nerves back on track. I wanted to ask her so many things. But that all these years, she spoke the truth. About her report cards, her strange stories, even about the times she scapegoated me in front of her parents. I noticed her hand. Show me your hand.
Nothing.
Show.
Lamesh Akka, nothing.
This time, she didn't put her hand on my head. Shaking my head, I took her hand and opened her palm. Seemed like bite marks. I didn't want to ask and wondered to death myself what caused that. Was it toffee or something else? We're going to the doctor's tomorrow and getting an injection, whether you like it or not. She protested, of course. This girl is really something. She's now sleeping as I'm typing this. I must try to sleep as well, or I might go crazy. Edit. I heard a knock on the door again as I was sleeping. My mind was then angry at Pranati for disturbing my already ruined sleep cycle, only to momentarily realize later that Pranati was sound asleep next to me. I did not answer. I did not hear a knock again. It's almost sunrise. Nothing else happened. I'm taking Pranati to the hospital for a rabies vaccine, having not slept for the rest of the night. May 10th. I haven't slept in over 48 hours. But it is not delirium. I know it. I am much ahead of that state of mind. No other details should matter. I am typing this from my phone, from outside the house, in the garden. Pranati is with me. Also a black cat. Forgot what she named it. The Rakshasa hasn't come back yet. But in the case it does, I hope someone is able to find out what happened with me. I am not entering the house. Pranati will be safe. That is for certain. After her vaccination, I dropped her off late at school and explained her delayed attendance to her teachers. I went off to office after that. Prakash tried asking whether something was wrong, but I couldn't say anything. He seemed dejected but didn't pester me further. Just past sunset of May 9th, I was surprised to find Pranati holed up in her own room, considering the affairs of the night previous to that. I saw the dim light from the night lamp coming from under her closed door. Her parents had already left for Mysore, and a part of me knew what that meant for me. I approached her room and heard some more sobbing. I entered. Pranati was laying on her bed, frozen and sobbing. What happened now?
There is a dayyam under my bed.
She whimpered. Please, Pranati, enough.
There is a dayyam under my bed. Please take me out of here.
Her whimpering got louder. Why are you doing this to me, Pranati? Yesterday, you said your dayyam wanted to kill me, and now you say it's hiding under your bed.
It's scary and mean. Pick me up from the bed.
I'm just tired of your lies, Pranati. You and your dayyam have made my life miserable. Miserable, I tell you. I've had more than enough. All my frustration and loathing was spilling out.
Please, Akka. Please believe me, Akka. It lies under my bed. Mother did promise, Akka.
Now she was crying in a louder voice. Fine. Let's see what's under. I sighed. I knelt down and peeked into the partial darkness under the bed. And I saw Pranati there, in a crawl.
Akka, there is a dayam on my bed. That is not me.
She whispered. In shock, I looked onto the bed again. Pranati there again.
Akka, there is a dayam under my bed. Akka, please.
Tears were flowing down her face. My mouth felt paralyzed. I looked down again.
That is not me. You must believe me, Akka.
The Pranati under the bed said. I looked up again.
You can hear it. It's speaking in my voice. Take me out of here, please.
I looked down again.
Akka, please don't take her. She isn't the real one. She's lying.
Pranati under the bed now started sobbing. If there is a 1% chance that Pranati was in this room, I knew running away from there was not an option.
Why don't you believe me, Akka? You saw it, Akka. I know you saw it. Why are you listening to it? You never believe me.
The Pranati above was freaking out. A guilt crept in. I kept my hand on the bed. The other part of my mind whisked me again to under the bed. The Pranati below now stuck her head out.
I will stop lying, Akka. I'm very sorry. Please believe me this one time. Get out.
She struggled to say this amidst her feeble low wailing. I reached in and pulled out the Pranati below the bed. Instantly, the crying from the top of the bed stopped. Holding Pranati in my arms, I looked up. Nothing was there on the bed any longer. Now my gaze fell upon to under the bed, wherefrom Pranati's legs had come out just a moment ago. A familiar pair of glowing eyes made themselves apparent in the darkness. A hand suddenly gripped my foot, and then it showed itself by popping its face out. A pair of horns, a blue yet scarred and broken up face, as if shattered, exposing bits of flesh underneath and all over. It opened its jaws to show the blackness between its two sets of long teeth. I leapt back and ran away from the room with Pranati in my arms. I ran down the stairs and out the front entrance. Only then did I look back, and I saw a horned silhouette, giant and hairy, gazing at me from the front entrance with its glowing eyes clear in the night and at a distance. I looked forward. I heard a loud thud as if a big stone fell down from where the silhouette was. I kept running without looking back. I wasn't chased. I haven't come back inside the house since. That fucking night watchman was nowhere to be seen either. As dawn broke, some courage seeped in and we came back into our lawn. The bomma was there lying on the ground at the front entrance, as if dropped on its side. I don't know what else to do now. I still don't. So I'm writing this in the hopes that penning this down would help, if not me, the reader, to piece everything together. Pranati, sleeping, still clung to me as I sit here in our lawn. She looked out for me, and I trusted her. And trusting her saved me tonight. I still don't know whether I can do so in future, but I chose to look at her with trust and not anything untoward. A meow was heard, and in the distance, I saw a black cat staring at us. It was the cat that Pranati used to go on about. With some confidence from the sun's rays, I tied the bomma back to my entrance. And with that trust, I stepped back inside my home. May 11th. Gotten a good night's rest the previous night and day. Amma and Nana came back prematurely from their trip, worried that there was no answering to any of their calls through the evening and night. I apologized for being unresponsive. I readied Praniti for school, and I myself for office. I texted Prakash and patched things up with him, but I did postpone our date, telling that I was taking Praniti to Yogi Bear Park instead. Turns out he was quite understanding of my general feeling of stress at the workplace, and thus my absence the previous day. He said he would do something to ease the work culture at the company, whatever that means. Things are back to normal. Finally. Even better, perhaps. I combed Pranati's hair after she wore her school bag. Where is your hairband?
The Bomma took it.
A momentary dread took over. Was I doomed? After all these events, I then remembered what I chose to do. Okay. I lost the Bomma. She hugged me before she left. After sending her off to her school bus stop, I approached the entrance where the Bomma lay. I stared into its eyes. The Rakshasa on it seemed to look back, like an ever-watchful, guarding presence. With a feeling of, here goes nothing, I awkwardly blurt out, "Your work is done. She faces no threat from me. You probably know how I look at her now. Now, please return what you took." A long silence followed. I certainly felt like an idiot waiting for a response. Maybe I was certainly being one. As I stared awkwardly, my gaze fell upon a place that I had not noticed before. The Dishti Bomma is suspended at the entrance to the house by a rope, and obviously, that rope was hanging on a nail. And on that nail, I saw Pranati's hairband. June 1st. Post removed.